for forward.
Yep.
All right. Morning, everybody. Been asked to talk about our customisation tools, and also I'm going to cover off on a couple of things we've done with V11. There was notice a sneaky slide skip there. So I'm going to cover off on some V11 snippets that I've been working with Mick Gunner to try and get working, and also some of our macros that are in the V10 customisation, and some tools we've had there as well for a while. So we've done about 16 snippets, all based around a simple single carriageway, a few curb and channel lines in there as well. And they'll be hopefully provided in the customisation for 11. We might even extend that if we get the chance to do that. We should have the time. What these snippets should help us with is getting the string naming conventions consistent, because each snippets will act like a bit of a shopping list for us where we bolt some things together, so different snippets will rely on the string names in other snippets in order to get that hanging together and working properly. It should simplify the MTF file, because instead of about 100 commands to achieve an outcome, you should be able to just pull in 7 or 8 snippets and have things, we hope, work. And also it allows us to do the complex more easily. The simplest snippet we've got is one that just creates a single string. You can see the code isn't too bad. There will be other sessions, I know, covering off on some of the snippet creation work. So you can have a snippet that's as simple as that. Or you can have a snippet that's as complex as doing all 3 pavement layers with a depth allowance in there too. So that snippet will cater for the fact that there's a curb and channel there. And if your if your pavement layer goes below the curb and channel, it'll extend out to the side as well, as you can see from that bottom image. But that gets pretty complicated. There's a lot of ifs and thens and buts in that snippet. And with that snippet, we've allowed you to name those layers as you wish. So, okay, they start with AC, base and sub-base, but you can change them, and you can change those depths to suit yourself. So this is a range of images of the sort of shapes that we're creating with those snippets. We've got decisional, we're making use of some of the decisional modifiers in there now as well for creating earthworks, so your table drains and batters, making all those decisions that would have gone in the decisional part of your template, they're now in the snippet. And we've just done one as a sample. You can pull that to pieces and change it to suit yourself. We've got footpaths and topsoil and turfing, and got the 3 different types of subsoil drain that our standard drawings cover. And you can get a sense of the full cross-section in that bottom image there. So hopefully those will give you a sense of what can be done with a snippet. And you can, as I said before, you can pretty much pull those apart and do what you wish with them. Now that we've got those shapes and the pavement layers defined like that, with some of our other macros, you can start to get a sense of how different parts of your design impact on those features. So we've got a traffic sign macro, which we'll cover later, and a guardrail macro, which we'll get to as well. And we've got culvert there, which generates that 3D model. And you can start to see where guardrail posts try to poke through. I can't model the posts for on top of a culvert at the moment. It's quite difficult creating the meshes for that, because the height changes and is different all the time, so it's a bit hard to predict. But at least you can see where something's not quite working and make adjustments. So all the macros I'm going to cover off on now are available in our customisation from the TMR website. We notice they like changing the navigation arrangements every now and again, just to keep everybody on their toes. But that general path there is pretty stable. You can find the design macros under the user menu in our customisation, under TMR views and TMR design. The guardrail visualization macro has a launch panel, and we've got a button there with the general process that I thought was okay for working through this. It's by no means the only way to go through this. The critical thing for the guardrail macro, the visualization side of it, is that a guardrail string exists with the right label from our naming convention and in a set of models so that you can actually pull them in to the macro. So we do have help buttons, which again go through how the macro is intended to be used and what we expect to go in the boxes. The guardrail flares are done to the standard drawings and are a geometric shape, so that they're actual super alignment strings. Because the standard drawing is drawn to a straight line, when you go around a curve there is a slight distortion to that, but unless the curve's quite sharp, it shouldn't be too bad. It should be all right. On the visualization side, it's all based on, again, more standard drawings. For us, the standard drawings in this 3D modelling are what we refer to as the low-hanging fruit. It's the stuff that's easily defined, it's nailed down, it's in a drawing somewhere. Got about 8 different string terminators for the guardrail strings. Concrete post, bridge rail. There's even a fishtail terminator in there for anything you've got that's old, even though you're not supposed to use them anymore. And we've got the melts and batter slope, and we get a plan presentation that actually looks like the guardrail might look if you're looking down on it. So we've got the terminal end, we've got the posts all turned around the right way and spaced correctly, and of the right type as well. It gives feedback in the output window, so that if it comes up with some posts that end up too close together in the middle, then it'll give you a warning, and you can adjust your guardrail string to suit that. Because it works from each end in towards the middle of the string, it doesn't work from the inside out. Made a bit more sense to work from each end. Before, with the representation of a guardrail string, you would never have known that was not going to quite work. So this is some of the 3D visualization we're getting out of it. I don't have the bridge rail in there at the moment as a symbol. I've got the melt terminal end. I did have quite some fun with it. So you can see I put the yoke and the anchor rod in there. Bit of Google SketchUp. It's great fun playing with SketchUp. And then we have transition pieces as well, from W to thry. And we've got modified thry accommodated as well. So as you can see, you're going from W to thry, W to modified thry, and the correct transition pieces in the right location. And that's all modelled with the rails are still extrudes. The posts are all alias wavefront OBJs, and the transition pieces are all alias wavefront OBJ files as well. We have traffic signs, so we get a plan representation and a 3D representation of the traffic signs. In 12D, because we've got an AutoCAD equivalent of this as well, using the same library of signs, it can handle the EMF files that are dumped out of TracyCAD, but you have to have the Australian standard font installed. Because of the way the EMF files are created, they assume you've got that font. Otherwise they look quite wrong. It'll do the post heights to a tin, so it's actually building the mesh files for those posts and the traffic signs at the time you ask for them. And if you adjust the offset of that guide sign there, then those posts will adjust in height. There is a gotcha. If you only change the number of posts but you don't change the chainage or the offset, then it won't show the new object until you restart 12D. And that's just because of the file name of the OBJ file and the fact that 12D is still holding that OBJ in memory rather than loading it up live again. But you can see there that with that sort of facility, you can see whether signs are in front of each other, whether they're interfering, whether you can't see past them, whether you can't see one sign because you've jammed one in front of the another, all that sort of thing. Also put attributes on those signs. At the moment, it's essentially what you feed into the panel goes on as attributes. Doesn't mean we can't add more. I just haven't put the time into working out which ones are meaningful yet. I'm hoping that as people start to use them, we start getting told what's useful to them. We do noise barriers. We've got an add and an edit panel for those. And again, it's out of that, it's a standard drawing noise barrier. So we get a plan presentation, which is this particular macro generates everything as faces, 3D faces, not meshes. So you happen to get the plan presentation out of it as well. So all the posts are in the right spacing, the panels are spaced correctly based on the standard drawing. And you can put in clear blank panels and you can put in the drainage slots as per the standard drawing as well. And the height of it is based on the height string that you might get from someone who's done a noise assessment. So it's just an XYZ string at the height required. The one for doing gully pits. Again, our low-hanging fruit being the standard drawings. You can add and edit a gully pit. And that's what comes out of it. We need to deal with those curb strings still. I'm contemplating the idea of whether a snippet could be used to do that instead. I'm not sure about some of the vertical faces yet. Okay. Got a crossfall width output macro, which was designed around trying to work out where your changes in crossfall and plan width were as you go down a set of cross sections. So it uses the cross sections, so the level of detail in this output is dependent on the level of detail in your cross sections. So some examples of the output. You can get the widths, which is just a simple dimension with that width on it based on the strings or model content you've chosen to report. You get the crossfalls, where the dot shows the origin of the crossfall and the arrow shows the direction down. And you can get both of them together. String join was created prior to tools like trace. Came out of somewhat a frustration of the string join process in 12D. And it allows for a bit of flexibility in putting your string together, especially for things like boundary strings around models. It allows for reversal of the selected string by either specifying the vertices in reverse or by clicking the checkbox that says reverse selected string. Doesn't provide an undo. However, it does allow for reselection before you click the add button. I'll get to that in another couple of panels. And you get a save. So once you save, then it commits the string to the model you've specified. There's a little bit of in-panel help. You'll note that macro doesn't have its own help button. And when you type in a name in the string name box, it'll go off and look in your names file and pull back the model string colour and line style. So when you select a string to add to your to be joined up, it'll highlight that string with an arrow style line type, and it'll have two arrows, one at the second point in and one at the second last point. When you specify points to limit the points, it'll show that range again once you press enter on any of those point numbers. So you can enter the point, the vertex number, and press enter, and it'll change the highlight display to suit. If you enter those point numbers in reverse, then it's reversing that string you've highlighted. Or you can reverse the whole string by just using reverse selected string. Once you click add, it'll add that to the string you're starting to build, and you'll see an orange line come up instead of the magenta line. And you can just keep building on from there, adding up until you get to the end of all the strings you want to join together. And then you can say save, and it'll commit it into the model with the string color and the line style you've chosen. It won't, I haven't got anything in there for picking individual points. I figured the string editor was better for that. This is just for joining lengths of string together, which is the thing that takes time. Okay, so we came up with, this was a bit of a novelty, colour picker, because the current colour picker doesn't use the grouping. So we figured we'd had all these groupings in our colour file, so we wanted to see them. So now you can launch this and it'll interrogate the colour file and build the grouping on the left and show you the colours in that group on the right with a colour swatch of what that colour should look like and its name. If you right click on the colour name or the colour swatch, then you can see the definition of that colour, and you can use the arrow keys up and down to navigate between the colours, and that properties dialog will update with the new colour. You can then Control-C to select the colour name, and the colour viewer will stay active, or you can double click on the colour name and the colour viewer will go away or close, and then that colour name is then put into the clipboard and you can paste it wherever you like. Because it's a .NET application, I can't interact directly with 12D easily. I have thought about using it in our own macros. Delete models. You can thank Larry for this one. He got frustrated when he was testing culvert, trying to work out which models had been added most recently. So this dumps out a list of all the models, and you can get the updated date and the created date in those columns, and you can sort those columns to suit yourself. And then once you've selected the models you want to delete, you can delete them and it'll get rid of them from your project. You can see there the columns being sorted. You do have the option of backing up the deleted models, and it backs them up to 12DA files. So they're pretty easily recovered if you go, oops. TMR view control came out of trying to replace the functionality of the LEMO 12D view control, because as a department we would have issues distributing a third-party tool within our customisation, especially seeing it goes outside the department. And so again, Larry put the effort into that one. And that sits as a as an application in the system tray and operates on your Alt key and the numpad and arrow keys, as well as the numbers across the top of your keyboard. The number pad is most useful because the location of the keys represents the location the view will go to within your 12D window. I haven't got a keyboard in front of me now with a numpad. So 9 would go to top right, 7 to top left, 5 will maximise to the whole 12D window. And you can push things across to other screens as well. The View Manager, that started as trying to come up with an idea for managing view content for drawings. And then it got kind of too hard and morphed into a View Manager instead. So it enables recovery because the data in this application is stored in an XML file. So unless that XML file gets updated, you've always got a recovery point for a view that you might have accidentally deleted in 12D. It stores multiple model combinations for the same view. And more than one view configuration can be created. So there is a default file it creates. But if you want to have another set of configurations, then you just rename the original default file and do another one. And when you relaunch the application, you'll see both of those configurations in a list. And you can create, delete, rename, refresh content. You can select models by single model, by all models within a grouping. So I've alphabetically grouped the model names in that list on the right. Or you can use wildcard filtering as well. There's a couple of slides will show those examples of that. It doesn't block 12D running. It's an external application, but there's a 12D macro panel that sits dormant and minimized with a couple of buttons that I use to interact. And just that last point, the selected view in the dialog will be brought forward, mostly. Every now and again it decides not to. Every now and again I think it's 12D, and every now and again I think it's Windows, I'm not sure. So you can so with the model selection options per view, you can set up for, say, that cross-sections view there. You can set up different model collections to be displayed on that view, and you can just switch between them. So you select the option you're after, click the refresh button, and that's what you'll see in your view. You can show the selected or the unselected models in the list. And here's and the filtering. So you can select and deselect by filter as well. And it's a simple question mark asterisk type filtering arrangement. So question mark for a single character, asterisk for a series of characters. And that's pretty much all I've got to show today. So thank you.